are you, Wes?
I'm good. How are you doing, Austin?
Good. Yeah. Thanks for talking to me. I'm super excited to talk about Australia MLP. Could you just briefly do a little autobiography of your pickleball?
Yeah, so I actually started playing pickleball in a middle school PE class, which was in way back in 1998, and played that in PE classes all through college and high school, and then I got into the quote unquote open pro level pickleball.
Mhm.
It was really 2012, so
Yeah.
I've been playing for a long time, and was lucky enough to play in the first pro tournament ever we had, which was the first tournament of the champions in 2013. So I've seen a lot of growth in the game and just happy to be part of it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Were you ambidextrous in middle school too with your shots?
I wasn't only because we played with a wooden paddle and
Uh-huh.
a Duraball on a gym floor, so it wasn't really a long points. But there was a string around
Yeah.
the paddle, and so I had to pick a hand, so I couldn't really switch, or else I would get in trouble. I tried to
Yeah.
not wear the string, and my teacher got mad at me because he thought I could, release it and hit someone. So
Yeah.
that came later.
If you could though, side question, would you play with two paddles if it was legal?
I've played with two paddles for fun in rec.
Yeah.
I would do it in a heartbeat. I love it,
That,
but
that would be cool.
it's not legal, so I can't do it.
Dang it. Okay. Well, sweet. Okay. And then, in case anyone doesn't know, I'm Austin Gridley. Um, I I was doing a little bit better 2 or 3 years ago at on the pro scene, but I've played against and with a lot of the pro players, and yeah, I can't beat the top players all the time, but I've beaten a lot of them sporadically. So it's been a lot of fun. Okay, and then so I honestly got interested in MLP Australia after I saw that you joined the 2024 draft and that you were on a team. Because for me, it was like, okay, I know Wes. He's a solid, strong player. There's got to be something to this MLP Australia. So like, what? Yeah, to walk me through that whole process.
Yeah, well, I as someone who's played pickleball as long as I have and still likes to play at that highest level, I I don't want to travel all the time, so I'm also very picky about my playing schedule and what I do. And so, I actually had a friend who asked me about this, who was interested in playing, and he asked me about just sponsorships and how to get over there, and he really wanted to play it. He's from Hong Kong originally, but he actually lives in Oregon, so I play with him
Mhm.
here. And so then I ended up looking up the website for Pacific Pickleball League, which is the pro league in Australia, and I saw that they had international players were available to play in this. So I did some, deep diving into the format and the schedule and all of that, and thought it would be a really cool opportunity to throw my name in the draft. Having played and coached MLP in the US, I love it. It's a
Yeah.
super fun format, and how great it would be to go abroad and bring my experience in the game and play and help grow the sport in another part of the world. And was lucky enough to get drafted. Uh, and actually, I'm going to be playing on the team with my good friend David, who sparked my interest. So I'm really looking forward
Yeah.
to doing that along with our two other teammates who are great. So really excited to go over and see. I know there's a lot of great players over there, so it's going to be really fun.
That's so cool. Um, let's see. Uh, so 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 this year there's $700,000 in Australian dollars in prize money over there, six events, and so the top team. So there's 12 teams. The top team will win 10,000 Australian dollars a person, and then is it 6,000 Australian dollars for the second place team? Is that right, or something like that?
I think it's 5,000 per person for the
Okay.
first place team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and yeah, I think it's 20. We actually had a meeting yesterday where they showed the breakdown, and I think it's 20,000 for the team. So I think it's 5,000 per person. but everyone, whether your team finishes first or in last place, everyone gets money per event.
Right.
And then additionally, what's cool is they do the team events in the afternoon and the evening. And then in the morning, they have essentially their own version, which is called PPL of the PPA. So they have a pro event in the morning. And so we'll play each day. I mean, I will not be playing singles. They'll have singles the first day, gender doubles the next, and then mixed all in the morning.
Yeah.
And that gets finished. And then we play the team event in the afternoon and evening. And so it's a cool way to do it. I really like the fact that the MLP Australia, for us playing in the team event, they gave us 2 free entries into the pro events as well, because they want us to play a lot of pickleball and showcase the
Yeah.
skill of the players. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I just think you're smart for not playing singles. That's just a smart choice.
Well, I back in the day, people may not know this, but back in the day, singles was actually my favorite event when I was a
Yeah.
young, I don't know how old you are, but when I was a young 26, 7-year-old when I started, and the first 3 nationals that I went to in 2013, 14, and 15, I actually played age singles and I played open singles. But I did get hurt at the age of 29 at my last singles nationals and decided to retire from singles at 29. So that was about 10 years ago.
You were the champion though, right?
For singles,
Yeah.
I was lucky to win a couple national
So
titles in singles.
modest, but that's awesome. Yeah, I
Yes.
remember that. That's so cool.
Yeah. Never got the open singles, got second a few times, but age, that was that was also cool because that was back in the era where those of us that are now rated 5-5 and up, we were able to play in the age. It wasn't even age skill at that point. It was just age bracket. So we could play age bracket and open. And so all the top players would show up and actually play 6 events at nationals. So our 19 plus bracket was really like another open bracket.
Yeah.
And so it was really almost as coveted as the open event. So it was super fun for everyone to play, and you may do well in the age and not so well in the open and vice versa. So
Nice. That's awesome. So do you win more prize money for the PPL stuff? That's a little separate?
no, I think it's actually there's more money for the team piece, and so that's really kind of the emphasis of this event is the team environment piece. But I've been really impressed with the organization in terms of their communication and the media build up, and they're really into the social media piece, and they're going to set up camps if we want before we go to the event to teach in the communities and do media pieces. So I think it's just really fun to be part of something that's growing in
Yeah.
another part of the world. I've never been there before, so
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to being there for a couple weeks at a time, and not just playing and teaching, but also exploring a different part of the world.
That's fabulous. So I mean, you see some potential, like the growth for Australian MLP is there, right? Like, can you kind of, I mean, what vision do you think, like, where do you think they're going to be in 2 or 3 years?
Well, it's interesting. I think this is the first year they've done the experiment with having international players.
Mhm.
And so it'll be interesting to see if that continues to grow, if more and more players are going to come from abroad to play in this league, very similar to what we would see, let's say, with basketball, right? I know a lot of women who play in the WNBA play in America during the season, and then they may go to China or Russia or somewhere else in the off season and play there. So I could see that potential. It all really has to do with what their goals are, I guess, because I know they've got a really good crop of top players that are domestic to Australia, New Zealand, that do come to the States.
Mhm.
I've met some of them actually at the U.S. Open and other events, and they've played PPAs and APPs, and Sarah Burr actually played an MLP this last year,
Yeah.
and so I think they've shown that there's a lot of skill there, and they've come back to their home country and helped grow the group around them,
Mhm.
which only makes their own game better. So I can see maybe more of that, I guess, cross pollination piece
Yeah.
happening. But time will tell, right?
Mhm. Is there anyone in the Australian League that you're extra impressed with? When I was watching the draft, the commentators were really nice and they were complimenting everyone. And so I don't know 100% who to look out for. Who are you impressed with?
Well, I think first of all, what's interesting about this league and what I like about the format, excuse me, is that every team has to have one player from their region,
Mhm.
and they're able to have one international player if they choose. Now, I
Yeah.
think 11 of the 12 teams went international,
Mhm.
but that meant a lot of domestic talent wasn't picked.
Yeah.
I think there was some statistic where I think half of the people that played in MLP Australia last year got picked for this year. And so that shows the influx of talent from Asia,
Yeah.
the US, Canada, so to speak. But again, the pool is really good there. Um, I mean, Sarah Burr came over to the states and had success. I think she was on the Arizona Drive, played with Sarah Ansberry amongst others, and so she's got a lot of experience. Um, like Mitch Hargraves has come to the states and played, and Joey Wild. There's a lot of really good players, probably more male players that have come abroad,
Mhm.
but there's a lot of really high level tennis players, women in Australia, who have converted to pickleball the last couple years and are really solid, but have not necessarily come to the States to
Right.
compete yet. And so it's going to be really fun to see that homegrown talent because I think based on the dupers and ratings and based on just results, there's a lot of good players in this league that people in the states have no idea about. And so hopefully that's going to help showcase them to the world so they can come to the states and compete against the American players.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like you have so much experience in pickleball and you have so much experience coaching. Like you're a coach for one of the MLP US teams, right?
Yep.
So I mean, to me, like if I was on your team, I'd be like, oh my gosh, like his experience and his coaching for his team is like all like probably just as valuable as how good you are as a player. Do you? I mean, are you gonna coach your team? Like how much are you gonna be coaching here?
Well, it's been fun because we've had, our text thread and David and I are here in Oregon, but then, Venice is in Hong Kong and Penny is in Singapore, so we're in different time zones, right?
Yeah,
Um, but we've had a good group thread about already about we found out who the teams were playing last night, and there's been discussion of some strategy, and I think it'll be more collective. You
yeah,
know, in the messaging, there's been some, "Hey, Wes, you're gonna coach and you're gonna help and you're gonna do this scouting." But for me, having played in MLP and then also coached in MLP in the States,
Mhm.
whether you have a coach on your team or not, it's more of a collective effort to game plan, to help each other out. I know you've played MLP before too, and it's right. It's more of that collective effort. So I'm
yeah.
happy to help, but I'm also mostly focused on playing and helping my team be successful.
Mhm. Um, and then for leagues in Australia, is it just the South Pacific MLP, the Australian one, and the PPL you said? Are there any other like big organizations or anything going on?
So they've got the Australian, and forgive me if I make a mistake on the name, but the Australian Pickleball Federation that's comparable to our USAPA, right?
Okay.
Um, and then they have the PPL, which is their pro league. That's again the equivalent of their PPA.
Yeah.
And then this is the first year I believe they officially partnered with MLP uh, as an entity. So I know that our league commissioner Sanj Carter and some others came over to the Atlanta MLP event in 2023 and met with the organization. So they have a partnership. There is another pro team league called the NPL, not to be confused with the NPL here domestically. That's our
Yes.
senior pro event. So uh, I don't know how many players who maybe weren't drafted in MLP Australia are now playing in NPL.
Mhm.
Um, there was some talk of exclusivity in terms of if you're playing in one league, can you play in the other?
Yeah.
It's very similar to MLP and PPA and what we have going on in the States. So there's another entity that's there.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. Okay. I mean, my first thought is like, is there a reason why you preferred the MLP Australia to the NPL?
Well, being frank and honest, I mean, as someone who is a history major, I'm used to researching,
Uh,
but I did not know that the NPL over there existed, and that's no knock to that league because they've had a lot of very successful events and good players playing it in the past.
okay.
For me, again, it was more of learning about this MLP Australia through a friend, and then looking at their website, and I was so impressed with just their organization that I went for it.
Mhm. Yeah. No, it does seem that they're very well put together and that they do put together some good events. Um, so there's several players that have played a lot in the US. Like the couple that I think of are Luke, or not Luke, it's a Kyle, Roman,
Mhm.
Damien, and yourself. And then you said one or two others have visited and played a fair bit here.
Yeah.
Do you, I mean, like I had someone comment on one of my videos where it was like the highlights from the Sydney MLP from last year. And I guess especially the Americans, they're like, oh, we're so good. Are the players from the US who have played here a lot, are they going to dominate, or is how's it going to turn out? I don't know.
Well, I think I think it's hard to make an assessment when you haven't seen and played other players from another part of the world.
Yeah,
I think the experience is going to help, but we're traveling across the world and playing in different conditions in a different time zone,
yeah,
and against good players that a lot of them haven't played over in the States. And so I think what we're going to find is that, especially with the MLP format, not playing with established partners, at least for us that are coming from the States and Canada. And I think anytime you play MLP, as you've played, it's every match is up for grabs. And
yeah,
so, I know, Damien is a really solid singles player. He's a native Australian who's coming back to play. I think it's great for him. He's going to bring a lot of experience. Roman's on the circuit. He's playing well. He's had good results. I'm actually teaming up with him in the first PPL men's open doubles event. So that's going to be really fun to play with Roman.
it's fun.
And then Kyle's had some good results in PPAs, and I know he's a New Zealand native himself. So that experience will help. But the local players in Australia that are really solid, they also have the knowledge base of all the other players in the area, and so that's going to give them an advantage in the event as well, because they've got scouting reports that we don't, because we haven't played those players. So I think it's going to be a level playing field.
Sweet. And then so remind us your team. What's your team name?
So our team is the Asia Aces.
Okay. It so are there any other teams that you're like, dang, like that team is good that we should keep our eye on?
I'm not just saying this to be Switzerland in my comments here, but I think they're all pretty darn good. I
Yeah.
mean, they all have, I think what happened in the draft is early on, a lot of those captains selected their regional picks first
Mhm.
because they have a connection to that player. They can practice all of the time. A lot of the teams, I think maybe it was Melbourne, had all of their players except for Damien, I believe,
Mhm.
that all live in that area and play together all the time, and that's such a huge advantage. So I think all of the teams are good. We found out who we were playing against, and I have it written down, but I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
Those two teams are we're playing two matches in the group play
Mhm.
stage of things, and both of those teams are really solid. And so yeah, I think every team's going to be good. Rally scoring, anything's possible. People are playing for pride in their region, and it's just going to be a blast. Win or lose, it's going to be a great experience.
Fabulous. Is there any place or anything you're wanting to do in Australia while you're visiting, as like as a like visiting wise goes?
Yeah, I mean, I don't there's the thing is I will be there for about 2 weeks. The second week is definitely gonna be more focused on the play and the training and the teaching.
Yeah.
Those first couple of days I'm gonna be in Sydney, and so I'd love to go to the Sydney Opera House. That's always a famous landmark there, and just explore the cuisine and some of the areas. I don't have a whole lot of time to, uh, you know, go around the entire country, which is massive.
Yeah.
But perhaps I'll spend some time looking at some places to visit, and then the third event. So actually, the second event of the season is in New Zealand. It's going to be in Auckland, so that's going to be great to see a different location. And then the last event is back in Australia, and I think it's in Brisbane. It's a different location, so it's going to be fun to explore the different areas.
Yeah. That's awesome. And then where can people, like on social media, where can people find you, or what do you prefer on that?
So, like in terms of my social media, I mean on Facebook, but also I have got my page with my name there, and then on Instagram, which is probably a little more accessible for folks, is Wesley Gabrielson Pickleball,
Mhm.
and then for the league itself, it'll say I think the handle is Pacific Pickleball League,
Yeah.
and they've got great social media folks that are pumping out a bunch of stuff. They have team stuff, they've got videos, and yeah, like I said, it's a fantastic organization. They're really excited to
Yeah.
do this, and yeah, I'm just really excited to play in a different part of the world, and and also coach. And we're going to do clinics around the country before the event, and so bringing that passion for pickleball to people in a different part of the world with different experiences will be really fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're from Australia, you gotta get to some of these camps, right? Like you gotta prioritize it. That's
Yeah, it's going to
that's
be
awesome.
fun.
Well, sweet. Well, thanks for meeting with me on this. And yeah, I'm gonna be a fan. I'm gonna be following along, and yeah, excited to see what happens this season of MLP Australia.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We'll have to get you an Asia Aces hat so you can wear it during the matches.
Oh, that would be sick. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna look for that. Sweet. Well, thank you, Wes.